Do you have a Dallas famous moment? Whether you've brushed shoulders with a celebrity in DFW or had your own 15 minutes of fame in the city, we want to hear about it. Send us a DM or email or a voice message to share your story to be featured on an episode of the podcast. We look forward to hearing from you, and thanks for your support. Foundation 45 is a 501c3 nonprofit that funds counseling services for mental health, addiction, and suicide survivors. In addition to providing services, it works to break the stigma surrounding these topics. Foundation 45 recognizes that musicians, artists, and creative types are often at a higher risk for issues with mental health and addiction. The organization's goal is to serve the Dallas-Fort Worth creative community by providing free, top-tier mental health and recovery services. You can learn more about Foundation 45 at foundation45.org. Foundation 45. Live fast, die old. I'm Andrew Sherman. I'm a Texas transplant who has always been in pursuit of art as a career. I've played in bands, pursued an acting career in Hollywood, but I found it behind the lens of a camera here in Dallas, Texas. I was born in New York. I've lived in Chicago, Los Angeles, Austin, but I love Dallas. There's a magical artistic scene in Dallas that mostly goes unnoticed to the outside world. This podcast is focused on what makes it so special and the people who make it thrive artistically. If you don't live here, and even if you do, you might not have heard of them. This is the Dallas Famous Podcast. So who you gonna be? Who you gonna be when you're all grown up? Who you gonna be? Who you gonna be when you're all for us? Yeah. This week on the Dallas Famous Podcast, it's Larry Gayao. Larry has been a fixture of the Dallas music scene for a while. He's brushed up against some heavy hitters. He auditioned for O-Town with Lou Pearlman, and he was managed by Mandy Teefee, Selena Gomez's mom. Larry's band Otis was his real introduction to Dallas with an assist from the Lex and Terry show. After that band had its run, Larry got heavy into soul music and wrote the songs that became the Larry G Project on a work computer. Beau Bedford jumped in and they formed a big band and even made it onto the Jimmy Kimmel show. Now Larry is doing a more stripped down solo project, but his real focus has been on his health. Larry sadly has stage 5 kidney disease. This one gets emotional, and I know you'll enjoy this heartfelt episode, so here's Larry G. We are here at the Deep Ellum Community Center. I've got Larry Gayao. You're Larry G to me always. Larry Gayao.
Yes, Larry Gayao, man. This is the first time anyone's ever like really said it like that way. Like usually they'll be like Gayao or Gayao.
Did I get it right?
You said it right.
So you probably don't know, but I'm famous for not getting people's names right. So, and like I normally try to say it out loud. It didn't even occur to me because I know you for so long.
Right.
And then I was like, I've never, but... Okay,
no, you had it right. So we're off to a good start.
Excellent.
Yes.
So I first became aware of you when I was working on Chevy Music Showcase, but I wasn't here for that shoot. But I think I first met you at the Mint in LA when you came out.
Yes, I do remember that.
A very funny night for me.
That was a fun night.
Yeah, it was
in general.
Great. Yeah. But it was like, I just had this moment where I was like in there, and then I felt like some of the girls in the band were like, "Oh my God, it's the guy from Chevy," and like I was like, "No, I'm just some dude," and it weirded me out.
No, they knew. That's so cool. Like, did you end up hanging out with everyone afterwards?
No, I don't know if I can tell this story. What happened? I had a friend that met me there. And, like certain things are legal in California.
Yeah, for sure.
And did
everyone get stoned?
No, it was just me and this guy. Like we just went outside for a minute, and I came back, and then everybody was like recognizing who I was.
Yeah.
And it was too much.
It was okay. Yeah.
So I just had to like kind of fade into the background and watch your show.
I've had those moments in LA.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. For real, I did. There was one time, this is before the Mint even happened. It was like when I was like getting my career started. I was just trying to it's that one thing as an artist, you're like, if I get to LA, if I can just get to LA. Well, my brother was living in LA at the time. He was in the Topanga Canyons, and he was like the struggling actor. And I remember we had this gig at this place called King's. I believe it's called King's. It's a burlesque club.
Huh.
And we did an acoustic set, Beau and I.
Oh, really?
Before it even before it starts. And I remember it was my brother's birthday, and he had a friend who hooked him up with birthday brownies And I didn't really understand that whole situation.
Right.
And I remember when his friend gave him the brownies, I took one of them and ate like a whole half of one. And he had this look on his face, and he looked at my brother and he's like, the most you should ever do with that is a quarter. And I was like, what do you mean? And how you described yourself in that moment coming back into the mint,
Right.
and probably everyone coming up to you,
Yeah.
is how I felt that night. Like the room stretched. Thankfully, our set was over, but the room stretched. It was dark, and people were talking to me, and I was so untrusting of anyone.
Oh my God.
I started like thinking things outside of my mind. I thought like the CIA was after me. No, it was so bad.
Oh my gosh.
My brother had to get another friend of his to watch me, like to make sure I was okay. And there's pictures of me sitting down outside of this club, just like with my hands like this in a suit. And I remember they were like, we still want to like go out. What do we do with your brother? And they were like, we're going to put him in the car. So they left me in the car, but we had gone out to a restaurant earlier, so everyone's leftovers, like doggy bags, were there. So they come back and find me with all the doggy bags open, and I had gone through everyone's food, and I'm just passed out and food's all over me.
Oh my God, that is
So that's my LA experience,
Oh my gosh.
on another level.
Yeah, before the stores were really regularly out there, like the dosage was not being regulated well.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay. Well, that was a good roundabout way to start.
Yeah.
So let's just let's just go to the very beginning. I know
Sure.
you're from Abilene, is that right?
Abilene, Texas.
And so, like, where did the music start in your life?
Well, my mom and my uncle had a gospel group at the time, back in the day. But even before that, my father, he's actually a physician, was a physician. He retired recently, but he built a recording studio at my parents' house, like literally in the back of our house. They, had just moved from the Philippines to, sorry about that.
Yeah, it happens.
So my dad had built a recording studio in our parents' house in the very back. They'd come from the Philippines in 1972, and we lived in West Texas, about 20 miles out from Abilene, in this small town called Bayard. Yeah, super small.
How did they land in that town of all places?
My dad, I don't know the story all too well, but I know he had to go because he finished his studying, as far as for, becoming a doctor, like in the Philippines, but he had to do some work here in America. So one of the schools he went to was Texas Tech.
Okay.
And through that, he found a job in a hospital in Bayard. And he was hired to become the main physician. And I think that's one of the reasons why we lived there and why the people of Bayard were accepting of him, because people of our color weren't necessarily always accepted. Like it was predominantly white. And West Texas is West Texas in some spots and stuff. So so we lived there. My dad had a recording studio. He doesn't necessarily sing, but my mom is a singer. She's a performer. In the Philippines, she was always singing. My uncle's a singer. He had a band, kind of similar to like the Beatles, where they all had like the outfits matching and stuff, called the South Timbermen, I believe. And so I was always around it and listening to albums, especially from my uncle who lived right next to us. Listen to anything like from the Beatles. I remember them like being like my first introduction to like music outside of church, because when I was younger, my parents just had us singing in church. It was my siblings and I, so all four of us would be on like the church stage and singing these songs, and then my uncle would be playing the piano, but then we'd also have moments where we could like we were at my uncle's house, and he'd be playing albums like Earth, Wind and Fire. I remember Stevie Wonder. Michael Jackson was a game changer for me, but I was always scared of Kiss. I remember seeing Gene Simmons do the tongue thing and the makeup, and I was scared as a child of them. But other than that, music-wise, that's how I was like introduced to music. And I didn't necessarily like have like this thing where I wanted to do music, but I learned how to love performing music. So I was always around watching my uncle and my mom perform, and I think like in me subconsciously I was like, I want to do that.
Right. Do you remember a point where you maybe it was the first time performing outside of church, or like where you really were like, I just want to do a performance or like something?
Oh, when I wanted to do like music,
like really get into
really get into
choice.
music. Yeah. So this goes into like when I'm in college.
Okay. Where are you at college?
I went to college at this school called Southwestern Adventist University. So okay. I was raised in a Seventh-day Adventist like home, and they have academies like for high school and all that. They have schools basically. So this was the university. I was there at the university at the time, but there was this audition that was coming to town, or there was an audition or a contest for Kiss FM. And this is around the time when Kid Craddock was still alive. Mm-hmm. And basically I was like, I'm going to enter this contest. And I entered with my own song, and it got picked as to be a part of this contest. And so in this contest, it was in South Lake, I believe. It was outdoors. I got to perform with a live band, one cover song, and it was me and some other people. And I remember I won, and I was supposed to like get some deal out of it where I was supposed to work with this guy. Nothing ever came into fruition, but I remember that moment happening and talking to Kid Craddock and being like, yeah, I want to do this, you know? And then after that, there was this opportunity for me to audition for a boy band, O-Town.
O-Town. Yeah,
so
I've heard O-Town.
Lou Pearlman, the guy who created the Backstreet Boys, right. And in Sync, there's actually a documentary on there called Dirty Pop.
I did watch that, or at least for first episode.
Yeah. And I actually met him, but I auditioned for him in Dallas. And the funny thing was with that, like vocally, I'm good. Like singing wise, I remember I sang In the Still of the Night, and everyone's like, oh, that's great. They're like, okay, so we'd like you to remove the mic from the stage, and we'd like to play some music and watch you dance. And it was a nightmare. Like I did not at all. I still don't think I'm a dancer, but I remember it got so bad that I did the robot, like just standing there doing this, and everyone in the room's mouth like dropping like, no way, he did not do that.
Oh no.
So that happened. I did that, and then from there, I started playing like acoustic stuff, like right around Uptown in the West Village. I would like sit outside in front of, I believe there was a gelato place that was across from where Taco Diner was at the time, and I would take my acoustics, sing. There was a Borders across the street. I'd play there just for anyone who'd want to hear me, and people were kind enough to like let me do it. And then a friend of mine was really good friends with Selena Gomez's mom, Mandy Cornett, and who's now Mandy Teefee. But Mandy took a liking to me, and I kind of went under her wing. She started managing me, and that was like my first time like getting a taste of like being managed. She really believed in me, and you know, so it was this process of like, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to write this song. We're going to record here. It was like these little, you know, things. And I think she was just prepping me, you know, and I remember there was this opportunity for me to perform, or not perform, for audition on American Idol. And this is when American Idol was just kind of like started. And I remember I told her about it. She said, absolutely not, or she said no, because they don't allow you to audition with management. That was one of the things.
Okay.
And I remember that I kind of did it without. And so that was kind of like one strike. And then, another thing happened. I ended up starting a band. The band's name was Otis. That was like my first brush with Dallas.
Okay.
And like music and stuff. Like we sold out House of Blues. We sold out the Gypsy Tea Room.
Wow.
Like it was some local love for sure. We got on the Lex and Terry show, which was huge, with this station called The Edge. I don't know if The Edge is still here, but there was this alternative station called The Edge. And I remember I was working at a clothing store, and I handed out a demo to Terry James, who was part of the Lex and Terry duo. And I remember him taking a liking to the CD, calling me while I was at work on the air, and basically letting me know that my band was going to play Edge Fest. We were going to open, but we were going to be playing Edge Fest, among the likes of like the Killers, who were just like starting fresh at that time, along with a lot of other bands that are huge right now. Right. And so that was like that. Otis kind of like was another step, from that. And I remember going on my first tour with Otis, that was with the help of the Lex and Terry show. What's crazy is that we booked a tour, but only through the help of Lex and Terry, because we basically got it set up with the stations that they were played through, which was on the southeast of America. So we just basically said, we're going to be in these cities. And we left, and the guy who was booking for us, his name was Regan, I believe. And he was booking us like we were learning where we were going to play like daily. It wasn't set. We didn't know exactly. I remember one place we played at in Jacksonville. We played at a restaurant, and they have so many listeners. They came. Like we made a lot of money on that tour just by showing up at these places, but it was because of these two guys, Lex and Terry, who put us on the map with their listeners. And it was a nationally syndicated show at the time, and so that's why we got so much love. So they call themselves the Givers, their listeners, and that was kind of like a brush at music. But I mean, going back to it, what I kind of mentioned, like that's when I knew like I wanted to do it.
And I feel like you were saying that like making that band had ended the relationship with the manager. Is that right?
Yeah. So I remember the opportunity came she was going to be moving to LA because Selena's career was, I think, not necessarily taken off, but that opportunity for her to do stuff with Disney. And I had the opportunity to either go with them over to LA to like move there, or to continue playing with Otis. And I chose the band.
Yeah.
And
you regret that?
Yeah, I'm the type that says, you make the decisions that you make. You just can't live with any regrets.
Yeah.
I saw them months later, like years later, after she had like blown up, and Mandy was still cool, nice to me, but you can also tell there was that divide between us,
right.
And not in a bad way.
Yeah. But
it's just one of those things where you're just like, you just take a deep sigh and you just know like it could have been, but
yeah.
I try not to dwell on like what could have been kind of situation, but
same. I mean,
you know what I mean?
Lots of moments.
Moments, man. Like that, the things that could have come from it. But I decided to get in a van with, 3 other guys and chase these dreams of like getting signed and like playing, the country, and nothing of that like materialized.
Right.
If anything, I just learned how to play on the road.
Yeah.
Because we did some touring for sure. but it wasn't like high-end touring. It was really like grinding it out, sleeping on, going to shows, meeting people there, seeing who's cool enough to let you sleep, in their house.
Right.
There's some nightmare stories of like sleeping on floors where you've got waking up to feces of like a cat, or, just like these bugs, like it's like in the sofa. I remember one time I was like, I am not doing this. I'm sleeping. I slept in the van for a part of the tour because I was like, I don't feel like clean, so
seriously.
Yeah, but we were definitely like, it's not like scavengers, man. You're just trying to survive out there.
Yeah, because you're spending everything on like the gas. And
we're spending all this gas, and then we're going to these places playing for like one person. I remember one time we were in Birmingham, Alabama, and we get there, and there's only the bartender, and he looks like he doesn't really care. The first song we play, the electricity goes out. And we had to leave after that show. No pay. We drove from there back to Atlanta to our friend's place because we were doing this tour. And I remember how quiet it was on that ride, where I think everyone was having life decisions about like, is this what I really want to do with my life? Yeah.
I got to back up for a second because it didn't really register. So you were hanging out with Selena at points.
Yeah, I mean, but she was such a young girl at the time, and she was so sweet. I see her now, and I have friends that are just like, man, she's so hot. I don't see her like that.
Right, you see that kid.
I see that kid.
Yeah.
And she, you knew the second like you were around her that she had it. Like whatever when she talked, you were like glued to like whatever she was like, saying and stuff. Right. She had this glow. She had this energy. You just knew, like, and I didn't hear her sing because obviously she's an actress,
Right.
But she like knew my songs and stuff. I remember her like sitting, next to me, and she was awesome.
Yeah.
And, but she was still a child. Seeing like how her mom was managing her should have been the sign for me to be like, yeah, she knows what she's doing.
Sure. Yeah, but it is hard to like know in those moments, and
it is,
like you want to be independent and you think you know better, and she wasn't proven in any way.
No.
So I don't know. It's hard to beat
it
yourself up.
is hard to like see it that way, but I also think with age, like now looking back on it, I probably would have done something different.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, how many decisions in your life would you look back and say I would do something different? Like probably a few. I
think with her, I would have done something different, still kept the band. Because the experience I had with Otis, man, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Sure.
Like I learned so much, had so much fun, all the things that we learned and the things that we accomplished, just amazing moments in time that I feel like shaped me into the performer, musician, whatever, who I am today.
Okay, so what happens after you get back from this tour? Was that the end?
Yeah, so like the tour, it wasn't necessarily the end. We played for a few more years.
Okay.
We never got to that sophomore album. And right around that time with the sophomore album, things took, we just got burnt out because nothing ever materialized as far as the hopes and dreams that we had as a band.
Sure.
And so my sister lived in New York at the time, her and her husband, and I would go there on and off on the summers. And I remember there was this one summer that I was out there, and I just kind of got inspired listening to some different things, mostly soul music.
Mm-hmm.
And it was right around the time when Amy Winehouse had like broken out with her, album Back to Black. Mm-hmm. And I remember I was just so influenced by her, this stuff that I was hearing that Mark Ronson was putting out, some of the artists like Daniel Merriweather, Charles Bradley, listening to some of the Dap Kings. And I left that summer knowing I was going to do something else, that I was going to go solo. Mm-hmm. And I started writing this whole like new material while I was working at this boutique in Allen, Texas. And so I didn't have like a MacBook at the time. So the store that I worked at had a MacBook, or not a MacBook, a desktop, Apple desktop, and it had GarageBand. So I would go to work like around 6 a.m. and start demoing like these songs. The funny thing is that computer is right in front of the door, like in the glass doors. So people are walking by while I'm singing in front of a a desktop. But all those demos became the first Larry G EP. That's where Larry G was born.
Okay.
In fact, the name Larry G came from Jonathan Tyler. Jonathan Tyler is another local legend here. Sure. He and I, like our band Otis and his band, Jonathan Tyler, the Northern Lights, we played a lot of shows together. And I remember he was like, I'd love for you to open my New Year's Eve show. And it was like a thing that he would always do, his New Year's Eve show in Dallas. Right. And I was like, yeah, man, for sure. And I was like, what do you think I should go by? He's like, Larry G. And I was like, Larry G. So I was like, okay. So then I was talking to my brother, like, should I do just Larry G? He's like, no, because you got Kenny G, and you know, we should do something different. So he was like, yeah. So he was like, let's spell G different. So we had the lowercase g, parentheses, capital EE, end of parentheses. So that was the first, you know, moniker, like the way that we were going to put it out. So I was like, yeah, so Larry G. So I got with Beau Bedford.
Yeah. How did you connect with Beau?
So Beau, you know, he was through the Northern Lights.
Okay.
And, you know, he and I had been messaging on and off, or we'd see each other talking about working together. And I got all these demos, and I remember sending them to Beau. And he was like, we got to do this. Like, I want to do this. Let's do this. Let's make it happen. And so we got into his recording studio, which was in Louisville, I believe at the time, at a cabin. He had a cabin like on this piece of land. And there's footage and everything too. We did 4 songs. I don't know like how many nights, but I remember the vocal booth where I was singing in was in the shower. There's so many people that came through there that are now doing like big things, you know?
Yeah.
And so we recorded the songs there, and the coming out party, you know, was the Jonathan Tyler show. And that's where everything, like with the Larry G, like, you know, experience, like took off.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't have a great memory, but one thing that stands out is the interview with you and Beau, and I didn't know who Beau was. And since then, I'm very well aware of who he is. But he said in that interview that he was like kind of almost done with music, and that your music brought him back.
Wow.
And that like he was like, I didn't even know what I wanted to do anymore, and this is what I wanted to do. And it's just interesting because like he has really flourished. And so, like, I feel like you can get some credit for him staying in it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, and that's one thing with Beau, and I will say that he has stayed in it. And now he's, like, doing so good.
He just did, like, the song with Billy Strings and...
Yes.
Is it Margot Price?
Margot Price.
Yeah, wow.
He's worked with, like, Willie Nelson, just to name a few. Yeah. Paul Cauthen stuff. Yeah. You know, he helped found the Texas Gentlemen. You know, I wouldn't be where I am today without Beau.
Yeah, and I gotta say too. I mean, I don't take it any certain way. Like I wouldn't put you two together.
No,
I wouldn't see it, and then after seeing it, it's just like, well, of course,
it worked.
Yeah,
and I think that was the special part is that when we got together and the music was made, he heard my voice like no one else heard my voice.
Yeah.
And he knew exactly where and where to put me in.
Right.
I think in a lot of ways we were ahead of our time because the sound with a lot of people at the time, I remember people saying it sounds old.
Right.
Like it doesn't sound, there were some people that thought that, but now when you hear stuff that's out today, the songs that we're playing now like totally make sense.
Yeah, and also it was like a who's who also
yes,
of local performers.
everyone that's on that that's been on that was on that first one, and then even on the stuff that I just released recently. We can go into that, but they're all touring the country now. You got Daniel Hardaway, Jeff Daisy, like they're playing with Nathaniel Ratliff and they're one of the Night Sweats.
I know, it's weird every time I see
Taylor,
that. Yeah.
Nyx, she's out, performing with Abraham Alexander,
she's too busy to come on.
I know.
I tried to get her on and she's like, I don't know when I'm going to be on.
I know. And that's why those moments, you talk about the time with Otis, but the time with Beau and everyone in that band, it was just like a family in a way. We went through so much together.
Yeah.
We did so much, stuff together.
It felt like that at the Mint. Like it wasn't a band. It was like a family. And I know that like not everyone from the, like you had guys that would come in and out depending on their availability, but even still that was a great Mint show. God, I'm so glad that you guys were in LA for that.
Man, that means so much.
Yeah.
That was the night we had all the labels out.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it just fell on deaf ears.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, I'm not gonna, like, I don't know what they were trying to hear. Like what I got back from my manager at the time was they were like, we love the performance. We think it's great, but we're just not hearing the hit, and so much like before, it was all about the hit, the hit.
Is so annoying.
And I feel like there's been a shift in the industry where it doesn't necessarily matter about like the hit or the song. It's about people who are having these careers now based off of performance and touring and doing that stuff. So I don't know, like, if we were ahead of our time when it came to something like that, but I feel like we were onto something. Maybe we just didn't like tap into it more.
Yeah, I mean, maybe like Beau found you, but like the label person didn't find you. That would have been that got it. And I mean, that's frustrating because I was at that show, so I know that you gave it your all.
It makes me feel so good to know that you felt that way.
Yeah, no, I remember leaving and I brought a friend that didn't know anything about you guys, and he was like, "Whoa, like these are like it." LA is very, at least I can't speak about it now, very disjointed and like, totally. I got to know people from LA, but man, it took me years before I met anyone from LA. It was weird.
Yeah.
They suck. It sucks. That's the bottom line. I mean, no offense to all my friends, but like the industry part of it, like
everyone, it's so fickle.
Annoying.
And it sucks that they're not just me, but there's probably millions of other people that are just like myself that are just as talented as anyone else, but because the hit, wasn't there, like, they don't get someone to take a chance. And I feel honestly like we could have really gone a long way.
Yeah.
Like that night, even getting that opportunity to perform on Kimmel.
Yeah, you did Jimmy Kimmel too. I was going to bring that up.
I was like, that I thought at that moment, and I thought even when we were at the Mint, like from that, I had so many people in my ear. You're gonna break. Like, this is it. Like, your life's gonna change.
Yeah.
And I think honestly, during that time, I was listening to everything that was being said in my ear, but I was forgetting about the passion and everything that brought me there.
Maybe, but let me just tell you, that is not why you didn't get signed. Your passion was very much out front.
Thanks,
like, I like whatever you tell yourself, that was one of those things where it was just out of your hands, and like you did everything you could do, and the universe just wasn't freaking there. And that's like, I can't say it any other better way.
Thanks so much, man.
Yeah.
I dude, like, that makes me feel.
Yeah, well,
makes me feel good.
It's true. It's like, a lot of us artists, like maybe younger artists don't see it this way, but like we're like, oh, you're going to get discovered. Like this one show, this one song, this one album is going to change your life. And what I've learned is it's still less than 1%. Like, you can have success in arts and it doesn't mean that your whole life has changed. You're just going on to the next thing and the next thing. And I have so many people on the show that are like just amazingly talented and work their butt off, and not everyone gets to be a superstar. And you know, it sucks on the one hand. On the other hand, your life's probably a lot better than it would be. It's
Right.
crazy.
Yeah.
Everyone's not happy just because they've succeeded. with
Exactly.
arts. Yeah.
Where I'm at when it comes to like, say, music, I'm much more happier
Yeah.
than I was back then.
Well, did you feel like at a certain point that you're like now you're driving this machine that you're not really getting to make all the calls for because you have other people you have to satisfy?
Yeah. And I mean, like at the time, like after that moment when we were in LA, you know, like the thing became, well, we need to set you up with some songwriters. We need to set you up with some different producers. And that was taking me away from working with like the core, which was Beau and I with these songs, you know, because we didn't have the quote unquote hit. I think that killed a lot of the momentum per se, because you're like, oh, if you'll work with this one, you'll get the hit. And so I'm working with these other people who have no relationship with, who in the end of the day are just trying to get paid.
Yeah, they just want to. They're hoping for a hit.
They're hoping for a hit. They're hoping to get money off of you, just working with you. There's a lot of money that was spent, like going to and from LA to like write with these hit makers. When really, man, it was right there with Beau and I. Yeah. And we basically had a whole album that was ready to go as the sophomore EP, if not full length. And that's how the latest album I just released came to fruition.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Kind of backtrack before that. COVID. During that time, I had a COVID project called Cabas, and it was more on the lines of pop alternative music. You listen to it, you'll hear a total drastic like difference between Larry G and this project Cabas. But it was one of those projects, again, where I had someone tell me, like, I believe in you. I just don't believe in Larry G. If you're willing to, I believe I can get you signed. If you go under a different moniker and you work on these songs, I'll write and produce. I'll give you credit for it. But you follow this, you know, and we'll do it. And I did it. And it did not happen.
Jeez. What is up?
The money was spent and everything. That's too deep to get into. So after that, I was just burnt out. Yeah. You know, this was right after the pandemic, and I was like, screw music. I need to like take some time off to figure out what I'm going to do next. But I remember I took a job working at Artist Uprising Studios. It's a photography studio, and I was just the admin. So I would come in and I would clean up after the people who were shooting at the studio. And I ended up picking up a camera, started shooting the people from Artist Uprising, which is the parent company to it. You know, they focus more on like arts, and it's most like an art agency kind of thing where they represent, you know, starving artists and whatnot. And they deal in branding and all this stuff. They were like, we love your work. Would you like to work as, you know, in our media department or marketing? And so I ended up taking this full-time job. We were coming out of the pandemic. Everything was kind of slow. I was taking a break from like the music. And the Cabas project, you know, I just released an EP. It was cool, and there were thoughts of me doing another one, but it really wasn't in my heart. So I'd taken a break from music and was really focused on this full-time job, something I'd never had. Because mind you, I'd from Otis and working with Mandy and Selena's, you know, mom, like I was really chasing music forever. Like I've been chasing this dream of getting signed, and this was the first time I'd been working a 9-to-5 job. I was getting benefits now, you know, and so I was kind of like, I wouldn't say cush, like comfy life. I had this studio apartment, and I was single, and I was just living a quiet life. And I was thinking, well, maybe this is just going to be it, you know, and I'm okay with that. And so I remember, you know, getting into photography, shooting people, portraits and whatnot, but yeah, there's still something that was empty. But anyways, getting into it, like I remember I just gotten benefits, and I was like, my eyesight's kind of bad. I need to probably go get my eyes checked. And now that I got benefits, might as well do it. So I go to this place called Eyepieces in the West Village. I have to say them because they saved my life. And the reason why I say that is I go there and they take, they're doing a checkup. They do an x-ray of my eyes. The optometrist notices some hemorrhaging in the x-rays. And he's like, hey, we need to check your blood pressure. So we checked my blood pressure. It was like 177 over like 99 or something like that. And he's like, this is over. You have to head over to urgent care. So I'm like, okay. So I go down urgent care, and they check my BP, and it's 188 over like 100. And they were like, you need to go to Medical City. And I was like, shit. So I'm like, I pick up my girlfriend, and we're driving up to Medical City, and I can remember this like as if it was yesterday. We're walking in, and I look at her, and I was like, hey, babe, I'm going to get some medicine. We're going to get some dinner. This is probably just a high blood pressure thing. My dad had always warned me about this because he's a doctor, and he would check my BP from time to time, and he was like, you need to get that checked. And this was years ago, and this is years in the making. So they check my blood pressure. It's 245 over like 120.
Whoa. And
basically that stay at Medical City turned into 3 days and 2 nights. CAT scan, biopsy, which then revealed that I had stage 4 kidney disease, IgA nephropathy, and it was due to hypertension for unchecked high blood pressure.
Oh my God.
Years and years and years of it. Plus I'd been abusing it because up until then I was taking Adderall. I was drinking energy drinks with that. I was drinking coffee. It was like a whole mix of everything that was totally bad for high blood pressure, but just going unchecked. High sodium diet. I was drinking heavily, and I was not taking care of myself. Like I was over like 200, and I was close to like 250. But I hit it really well.
Wow. Okay.
They told me that, so I was just like, I was diagnosed in May of 2023. And I remember it was around that time I was, my therapist calls it now, I was subconsciously grieving. So like I still was trying to figure out what living with kidney disease was like, let alone having stage 4 kidney disease. And I remember knowing that I had to change my diet and, change my lifestyle. I had the people over at In Vivo, is a company of mental health and wellness. Eric Payton, the founder, he got me set up with the McDougall people in California. And basically they taught me everything about plant-based diet. And so through them, it started me on this whole journey of changing my lifestyle with the way that I eat, the way that I saw food. And then also I gave up drinking and lost a lot of weight and started this thing where I was walking 5,000 to 10,000 steps a day. But it was during that time I was pretty depressed while I was still working. And I remember on my walks, like I would just listen to either podcasts or music. And I remember this one time I pulled up this folder of old songs that I had done with Beau, which were supposed to be the follow-up to Weekends, the first EP. And I remember listening to him and just going like, man, why didn't we not release these songs? Mm-hmm. And I remember Beau calling me out of nowhere. And I remember him telling, man, I remember him calling just to check up on me. It had nothing to do with music. He was just, I heard you were sick. I just wanted to see if you were all right. But I took that as a sign where I was like, I'm going to ask for his blessings to release the songs. And he said yes. And so that was on the back of my mind, like, yeah, I got to do it. So I spoke with my doctor and I was like, hey, if you were in my shoes, you know, like, he looked over my labs and he basically said, if I were in your shoes with your predicament, you know, because I have it's now stage 5 kidney disease. He was like, I would do what I love the most. He's like, I would do what makes you happy. And he's like, and live your life to the fullest. And I was like, I'm going to go back into music. And so that's when I made that decision, knowing that I had the blessing from Beau, that I was just going to release these songs as if they were new. And so I, you know, reached out to KXT. They were kind enough to like really help me with the rollout. And I just started rolling single after single after single to where we eventually had an EP release show at the Kessler, which was a great night. Beau played, got Taylor on the stage, got Daniel play horns, had Lady B there, had my buddy Chris, like the whole band. It was a great night. And even before that, these opportunities like started coming where I remember playing my first show since the diagnosis, and that was at the Double Wide. And it was electric. And the reason why I say that is my girlfriend, who never knew anything about the Larry G hype, where she was totally knew nothing about it. She only knew me of like this guy that she met working at AU because we both worked at the same company. And I remember getting off the stage and her face was like, her mouth dropped.
She's like shocked.
She was like, she goes, I have so much more respect for you now as a person watching you do it. She's like, this is what you were born to do, kind of thing. And that hit me. Then we randomly got asked to play an official showcase at South by Southwest. That like Questlove was playing, Janelle Monáe, Brother, which is Keith Young's like project. Like it was this poopery like event with Rolling Stone, and I was like, what's happening? And I was kind of like, I don't know what is going on, like why this is getting so much love, and these opportunities are coming, but I kind of felt like God, the universe, whatever you believe, all these things were happening because of that. I think I just felt like a shift of everything aligning and like what I've always wanted to do. In fact, before I played the show at the Kessler, I got not fired. I was let go from my job because of budget cuts. And I remember my girlfriend telling me, don't look at this as a bad thing. This is just more like, this is just another sign of them telling you like this is what you're on the direction of what you need to do, you know, that trajectory. And so we released the EP, it came out, and you know, we've got some shows that we're doing coming up. One of the songs actually just made it onto a compilation vinyl that KXT is putting out this year.
Yeah, the Whataburger.
With Whataburger.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool, like just for these opportunities that have come up. And what I feel like what's different from say the Larry G before to the Larry G now is, yeah, the love is still there and performing is still there, but I feel like my feet are on the ground like doing this. I feel like I'm much more aware. I don't know if it's because I'm sober. And when I was doing Larry G, I was doing so many other things. Yeah. You know, I was trying to please everyone else. I was probably also on, you know, other things and stuff. And, you know, wasn't taking care of my health at the time. And like now I feel like I'm like in a different place. I'm going to therapy multiple times a week. And, you know, with the kidney situation, I'm on the list for a kidney transplant. My sister moved out to Texas just recently. It was a match, and we were both doing the test up for a workup to get the transplant to make it happen. We really thought it was about to happen. We were like right there, like on the 5-yard line.
Mm-hmm.
And this one test came back, and basically one of her 2 kidneys was not good. And basically because of that, she couldn't be considered as a donor.
Right.
So now I'm back to square one, hoping to find a donor. They want me to get the word out, which is why I'm thankful to be on here.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I've learned, especially in this situation, is to not be afraid to like share and ask. There's over, I believe it's 90,000 people who are looking for a kidney every year. The percentage of those people that get it in that year is not good. Then there's options that doctors try to get people in my condition in, which is dialysis. That's what I would call a lifeline to like keep someone, living basically. And that's typically what I noticed my nephrologists were trying to push on me. Every visit, they were like, okay, this is great. We need to get a look at your stomach and get you ready for dialysis. And I had to actually leave that nephrologist and find another one because, trust me, I respect doctors. My dad is a physician, but there was a moment where I started seeing myself being looked at as a number because I know they make money off of getting you on dialysis.
Right.
And I was like, I need to be an advocate for myself, and I've learned to do that. So if I don't feel right with something, I'm not going to do it. Also, I don't experience any of the things that someone typically would stage 5 kidney disease experience, which is like swelling of the hands, swelling of the feet.
Yeah, you look fantastic.
You feel nausea.
I wouldn't know.
You feel sick. You feel tired. Like I have the best energy I've had in years. But I'm trying to like stretch this out as long as I can until a kidney transplant comes through. When I first got diagnosed, I had 9% kidney function. Through the diet, I got it all the way up to 18%.
Wow.
So right now it's between 15 and 18%. The plant-based doctor I was working with basically said, if you can get to 30%, you can live off those kidneys for the rest of your life. That's a goal. And that is a crazy one to think about. My kidneys are scarred from years and years of unchecking my high blood pressure and the hypertension. That's one thing, man, that I would love to like use on your platform is just to tell people to get checked up regularly. Yeah. It's important. Blood pressure is a silent killer. That's no lie. And I'm just grateful that, I was grateful for that guy who checked my eyes. Because if he doesn't do that, like I am not here sitting with you.
Right. Yeah.
And even though the thing with my sister fell through, even though like I've been diagnosed with what I have, I do feel like this was meant to happen, and I don't question it. I know that I'm in a better place physically, regardless of my 2 bad kidneys. I think I'm healthier than I ever was, but it's the decisions that I made, the lifestyle that I lived that caused me to go to where I'm at or where I am today. And I'm not saying everyone should live that way, or I'm just speaking for myself and for my truth is that I feel so much gratitude for everything that's happened and led me up to this point now where I can sit here and talk with you about my health, and I'm still alive and I'm still fighting. Like every day is a fight, like every day. Like I've had to learn how to basically have this strict regimen, like lifestyle where it's like smoothie, walk 5,000 to 10,000 steps a day. I do heat and cold plunges every other day. Sometimes I'll do it straight for a whole week, but anything to keep the blood flowing, that's what I'm doing. I'm just trying to stay alive.
Yeah, no, you're inspiring because first of all, I would not know you're even ill.
Oh, thanks.
Second of all, it's a lot of people get challenged by their doctor to change things about their health, and a lot of people cannot do it. And it's not that they don't want to, it's just really hard.
It is.
And it's a testament to your mental fortitude. So I commend you on that.
Thanks, man.
Is there anything that people can do to help you?
Yes, there is. If if you are interested in donating a kidney, my blood type is O. If your blood type is O, you can visit a site. Is it cool? I'm going to pull it up here.
Yeah. And we'll have a link as well. So
yeah. Okay. We'll visit the link on your episode there, and they can go to that link and basically apply.
Okay.
And so after that application, they can fill out the application. Then through UT Southwestern, they'll do the workup. A lot of people have a question of, well, I'm a match and I'm willing to donate, but I don't have the money to pay for, all the workup. You don't have to pay nothing. Everything that you have to go through, all the workup and stuff, is taken care of by me and my insurance.
Okay.
Second, if you're not blood type O, but you want to help, you can, if you're open to, donating your kidney with your blood type to someone with another blood type. And what they will do is find a living donor with my blood type and basically do a transplant for both them and then me. So another thing too is, so basically if you're like type B, you can donate, you can apply to donate for someone with type B. And if they go and everything clears, then the hospital will find a type O that's good, ready to go for me, a living donor. That's kind of like what they call an exchange.
Okay.
And then another question that people have is, well, I'll have one kidney now. What happens? Will I be like on this long wait list? No. When you donate a kidney, you're automatically like up on the list. And if anything ever goes south or whatever, you get a kidney donor. You get like first in line treatment. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's.
I mean, it's a huge thing, but if you are someone that has that in your heart, like there's somebody that needs it.
It's a huge ask,
worthy.
man, and it's not like I'm, telling, but at the same time, like when you're at the point of you're just
We're
like
throwing the nets out.
I'm throwing
Hopefully
it out
we
there.
catch a kidney or two in those
Exactly,
nets.
because you never know, and
our 75 listeners are definitely all ready to go. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, honestly, it's we've known each other for a while, and I think this timing worked out well too. And I think that's sort of, I just want to end it on saying a few things. I didn't have enough time to tell you that I'm jealous of how good your portrait taking is. You're a very good photographer.
Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, for sure.
I appreciate that.
I was like, wait a minute, another
coming from
dude?
you, man. I appreciate that because I respect your photography so much.
Thank you. Yeah, but I was just like, oh great, now he's going to do photography. Like, okay. But also, you're like a chameleon, but not like, it's like ultimately you've just had this focus, and you just, we all like lose and find ourselves along the way. And like, I am so impressed with who you are sitting here tonight. And I hope somebody can help you. And it almost sounds like you might make it without the help, but like, hopefully somebody's out there that can help you out.
I appreciate that, man. Like I think it's all mental right now. And I also have a really great support system. My family, my girlfriend Kelly, she's been my rock, and I'm lucky, and I'm grateful for the community of people that I have around me, such as yourself, and just this opportunity to still kind of be able to be doing things.
Right on. All right. Hey, Larry, thanks for coming down.
Thanks so much,
great
man.
talking to you.
Yeah, good talking to you too.
I'd like to thank Larry Gayao for coming and really opening up on this episode. You can find all his information in the show links. Also, we heard his song, Find Your Way to My Heart. Get your own Dallas Famous Podcast t-shirt. The link is now available in the show notes. Thank you again to the Deep Ellum Community Center for letting us record there. Theme song, Unstoppable by Salim Narala. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, follow, all the good stuff, and share it with your friends. We'll see you next time.